Hello, and welcome to the Frivolous and Frugal Knitting Podcast. We are two sisters and a niece who share our fondness for knitting, those things that we create or tink a lot, and our love for the knitting community. And we do it all with a little twist of both the frivolous and the frugal. I am Frivolous Dawn, and in our family's birth order, I am the fourth of 8 children.
And I am Fearless Miss Brianna, and I'm the daughter of number 7 in their family's birth order.
That's correct. And I am Frugal Miss Penny. I am the oldest in the birth order. And the one sister who has a touch in every single episode is our faithful Nikki. And she is 3rd in the birth order. It is a pleasure to welcome back our returning viewers. We're so glad you're here this week. Again, we hope that you learn from our musings and adventures as much as we learn from you during our virtual events. And for those of you who are first-time viewers, welcome. We're so glad you've given us a few minutes of your viewing time, and it's our desire that we inspire you to learn, to try new fibers and new patterns, and to realize that the options are limitless. And for that reason, would you please grab your knitting, your favorite note-taking device, and a sense of humor for episode 57 of Frivolous and Frugal. Take it away, Dawn.
All right, let's go. Let's do a round robin and say, what are we wearing or what's around our neck? We can start with you, Brianna, if you want to.
Okay. So I'm wearing a cowl that doesn't have a name or a designer because it was just kind of, I started out with just this chunky yarn. You know, it was out of stash, so I don't know what it is. And I did a waffle stitch. And then I just did stockinette on the inside with stock weight yarn. But I wanted originally when I knit this cowl, what I wanted was something warm for Chicago in the windy. Because the wind will cut right through something big and chunky. So I lined it. But I think we've showed this cowl on the podcast before because I knit it a long time ago, but it's coming back around.
Yeah, and back to Fearless, you just decided to do different yarns, different needle sizes, and made it work. Different, yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, I had to play with it a little bit, but I figured out I just increased 3 for every 1 stitch of the chunky. And then it worked out just fine. Yeah. And then I didn't have enough of this blue, so I had to fade it out into the gray. But it all worked out. And then that was the first time I did Kitchener, because it's a tube. The other side's
oh yeah.
Look at you. There's a reason we call you Fearless, darling.
Yeah.
What are you wearing, Miss Penny?
Oh, something I've worn 14 other times. This is Quicksilver by Melanie Berg. And had I have been organized last week, I would have worn it in honor of Frivolous and Frugal National Melanie Berg Day. But this is by Melanie Berg. It is knit in heritage sock and Malabrigo sock. I knit it on a size 6, and on the Frugalometer, I gave the yarns $3 signs because of the Malabrigo, and on the pattern, $1 sign. What about you, Dawn?
Yeah, I'll come back to that shawl later when I give my Melanie Berg update.
Ooh,
I am wearing Sizzle Pop. Woo! This was what I called my dream shawl of 2020. It is a pattern by Lesley Ann Robinson. It is a paid-for pattern on Ravelry. The yarn, the dark yarn in the background is by Leading Men Fiber Arts. It's in their Diva base, and I think the color was Darkest Hour. So it's a super dark gray, almost black. And then the lighter color that you're seeing the design work from is from Northbound Knitting, and that is in their Merino Silky Fingering, and that is Metallurgy. So it might be a little hard to see on the screen, but that's like a silver, bronze, gold, metallic type of yarn. And wow, this was my whole reason I learned brioche, because I wanted to do this shawl. So on the Frugalometer, I bet the yarn was probably a 3, and the pattern, I'm going to call it a 2, 2 or 3. That varies on my day, you know, just how frivolous or frugal I'm feeling.
I don't believe you've ever felt frugal.
I did once.
I didn't like it, huh? Was it uncomfortable?
I went to buy shoes yesterday and I picked up this beautiful pair of shoes and I flipped it over. The price was $403 a pair. I couldn't believe that. So that's the ultra frivolous. I couldn't go that far. So there has to be a balance in there. Okay.
Oh, I hear you.
Anyway, that was a squirrel. Let's see. What is your mannequin wearing?
Actually, Opal is wearing one of my favorite shawls. It's Levity by Kelly McClure. I knit it for our son and daughter-in-law's wedding. I knit it out of Dizzylettuce, which I it took me a long time to really realize that is the name of the yarn. Dizzylettuce Auxanometer, and it's in 2 different colorways. One in which is this, I'm going to say almost ecru or beige, is When Doves Cry. And then the other one is called, I'm going to look, Gilted. Oh, I'm sorry. When Doves Cry and Gilted. I knit that on a size 7. And on the Frugalometer, the fiber gets $4 signs. Pattern gets 1. So yeah, that's what Opal is wearing today.
Very good. And my mannequin with no name and a very small waist, by the way. Okay. That is Festival of Stitches by Lisa Hannes. The reason I picked that today is this upcoming week, she starts her new annual mystery knit along. This was the design she did last year. I did not do it as a mystery last year. After I saw several people's finished projects, I was inspired to do it. So that is all with Baah yarn in the La Jolla base. And the black is called Black Purl, the white is La Perla, and the red is chocolate covered cherries. I love that. So let's see, in that virtual knit night, Miss Carol from New Jersey threw down the gauntlet to do that mystery knit along. So I'll report back in the next several weeks if I took the bait. I am tempted, to say the least.
I bet you are.
Yeah, very good. So, Brianna, what's on your needles?
I've lots of things on my needles. I'm like a serial knitter these days because I start lots of things and I get distracted with school. And then I started knitting that sweater. Oh, I should have looked up the designer. It's the Aros or the Eros sweater that everyone's knitting right now with the stripes.
We'll include it in the show notes.
Yeah. Okay. And I started out doing little tiny stripes and I didn't like it. So I went back and did big stripes. And so the yarn is the Manos del Uruguay, Alegria. I don't know. How do you say that word?
Oh, Alegria.
Yes, thank you. And it's superwash merino and polymer mix, but I love it. It's so cushy. So the black and the gray silver is that yarn. And then I had some purpley green. That's not a very scientific term, but out of my stash. It's also sock weight. I think it's 100% merino. But I'm a little nervous that it's going to turn out to be a cropped sweater. So I'm doing the sleeves first so that I don't run out prematurely. But I'm enjoying it. And I'm learning, one of the things I'm learning with this is she has a particular way to change colors and tuck in your ends as you go. And I've never done that before. And so I've been learning how to do that. So I've torn it out a few times because you do it on the shoulder and it was looking pretty ugly a couple times. So it's been a learning process, but I really enjoyed knitting this one.
How exciting.
On a size 6 US needle too.
Boy, it won't be long before that's done, huh?
No, especially after the retreat. I think that will be off the needles.
Wow, Manos del Uruguay. You go, girl. That's a little frivolous.
Well, yeah,
Oh, Penny, we're all wondering what you're knitting on.
Please refer to episode 56, 55, 54, 53, 51. Oh my goodness. I will be on Social Security when this finally gets finished. I am still working on Wingspan, but in all seriousness, I'm making progress. Look at this. I'm excited about that. And it is a pattern by Kyle Vey. I am using blue brick Okay, it's got 6 names, but it's blue brick, sparkly merino, mammoth woolly, tuscan ivory. I can't remember the rest. Yarn. It doesn't really say tuscan ivory. In the ibis colorway, which is the exact yarn that was used for the project. And I am knitting it on a size 6 frugalometer, 4 to a 5 for both the pattern and the yarn. But hopefully, as Miss Brianna said, after our retreat, I'm hoping it's an FO. At least that's my, or finished object. So let's see. We'll figure it out. Anyway, hopefully it'll be off my needles. What about you, Dawn? What are you knitting?
Well, so, we tease you about being monogamous, but Brianna said a word that is kind of the opposite of that. She's a serial knitter.
Serial knittle.
Oh, that sounds so much better than polygamy.
It
I
does.
don't know. I don't know.
At least in my head, it sounds much better. So in my serial knitting, I'll show you one of the things on my needles. I am doing the Hawthorn Cowl. It's by Circle of Stitches. I've done this in the past, but I teach this in a class for 2-color brioche knitting in the round. And I wanted to do a shop model with the yarns that are available at Silver Thimble in Green Bay. So it is a free pattern on Ravelry. The yarns are Homestead Tweed. Oh, can you see that? Homestead Tweed.
Yes.
This is the lighter color, and it really is a tweed. You don't see too much of the tweedy really in it. But it's called oatmeal tweed, as I just pulled needles off or stitches off. And then the brown is just Homestead. It's by Plymouth. It's not the tweed, and it's in the chocolate colorway. Those are worsted weight yarns on a US 8. And I love this pattern, not only because it's free, but you knit it till you're happy with the width of your cowl. So at the most, you would just need 1 skein of each. So I would give that 1 on the frugalometer for the pattern, and 2 because I think Plymouth Homestead is a great bang for the buck as far as a workhorse type of yarn. And I'd have to look, but I'm almost, you know what, I'm not going to say it. I don't think it's a super wash though, for some
I
reason.
don't think it is either. I have some.
Okay, I was going to say, is it super wash, but I don't think so. Yeah, so that's one of the things on my needle. Okay, back to you, Brianna.
Okay. I'm working on the inside-outside cowl, which when we went up to Elgin Knitworks a couple weekends ago, we got the yarn for it. Let's see. Here's what it looks like right now. So it'll just be a long tube, and then I'll fold it in half and do Kitchener. But the silk is Malabrigo Mora, and that's a 50-gram ball. And it's in the Purl colorway. And then the mohair is the Barocco Aerial. And it doesn't have a colorway. But it's kind of a fun, mindless knit. And it's fun to knit with different yarns, because I would have told you that, what would you say if someone's knitting looked really uniform and smooth? I don't know what the word is for that.
Oh, like a even tension?
Yeah, I would have said I had a pretty even tension, but when I knit with the silk, I was like, am I a toddler? Because it's so bumpy and it's like not perfect at all. But I guess that's the nature of the yarn. And then with the mohair, I just love it. I feel like I'm knitting a cloud. So
you are destined for a mohair sweater, aren't you?
I am, but I did feel a little bit of nervousness when I started knitting with the mohair, because I was like, okay, I have to stop making mistakes now. I don't want to tear it out.
And I think a lot of people when they knit with the mohair get a little, I don't know, frustrated, aggravated because of the fluff that's in the air.
Yes.
Well, I believe that you, my dear niece, our dear niece, said that you get goat hairs in your nose when you are knitting with mohair.
I do, because anyone who's knit with mohair knows that it's pretty. I don't notice them getting into my nose, but all of a sudden I'll be knitting and I'll be getting so mad, like genuinely mad. bad. And my nose is like all tickly and I'm just like agitated. I'm like, I think I need to go take a deep breath and count to 10 or something. But it's just a little goat hairs tickling my nose, I think.
Well, I shouldn't say this, but I will. As you get older, you're also going to find goat hairs on your chin.
Oh.
Just so you know, okay?
That-
At least
that-
that's what we call them.
Mhm.
That's for a totally different episode. Yes. And again, you guys better tell me if I get on and I have one of those, because if I
Nope.
see it on the
Nope.
editing, I'll have to accidentally delete the entire podcast. All right. So I will talk about Tenacity, since both Brianna, Penny, and I, or all of us, not both, are knitting it. This was our Christmas. It wasn't Christmas. It was New Year's Day.
New Year's. Mhm.
We decided to pick on a project that would at least take us 1 year, if not 10. So this is Tenacity by Cold Comfort Knits. I'm using Regia Premium Silk. And the markers that you're seeing are at the end of the month. We just place a marker to say where we were. So obviously I did okay in January. We did a lot of tinking in January till we found the right tension that we liked. I did great in February, but then look, like I did not do very much in March. Yeah. So and I've tried to do a little bit better in April. So this is to be 100 inches long according to the pattern. Although I think maybe Brianna and Miss Renee will do a little bit shorter because they are shorter. I finally have memorized the pattern, but when I didn't knit much for that month, I had to go back and read the pattern again. So you have to almost keep doing it routinely to keep it memorized. I do keep a copy of the pattern in my project bag. This is on a US 1. That we ended up going to a 1.5, didn't we?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then we the designer was marvelous with this. If you remember, she helped us with getting our gauge right, and so she went above and beyond to help us do this. So on our way to 100 inches, I bet it is the end of the year. I don't know if it's this year, but we'll finish it at the end of some year. Yeah, and that's in a real light gray color that I'm using. And it's called Silver Baah. So I assume that that's a German reference to silver blue or something like that.
Oh, I like it. Yep, mine is coming along. It's a little shorter than yours, and it's in that rose colorway.
Yeah, look at that too.
And I had the opposite experience. My January was okay. February, not so much. March, pretty good. April has yet to be seen. So I'm getting behind on April. And notice my matching little stitch markers.
Oh, I
Thanks
love
to
those.
Elgin Knitworks and their Cocoa Knits.
Oh yeah.
Markers.
So you
I
were
love
brilliant to tell us to put these in for the repeats.
Oh,
And that's
every
funny.
piece
I'm using Cocoa Knits too, markers.
I like their little ones.
And I ordered the month of the year progress keepers from Karen's Hobby Room, which is an Etsy shop. So if I remember, we'll put the link in.
Yeah, I love that they come. I don't know why. Every time I see this, I just think it's brilliant. But she put them in order, so I don't have to. I don't have to, sort through them every time. I just get the next one.
Yeah,
Nice.
that is true. I didn't realize that. That's the same Etsy room I get my wrong side, right side markers from too.
Oh.
And then Brianna and I were laughing this morning because with Penny being monogamous, when she gets to this project, we are in trouble. Hey, bring this to the retreat and we can do a repeat every day. The Tenacity. Yeah.
I'll do that. Yeah, make some progress.
Along with the other 100 things we're going to do at the retreat. So, all right, that is all I have on the needles that I brought today. Is there anything else you have, Brianna?
I just have the saltwater mittens that I've been knitting. And I think I haven't made a whole bunch of progress yet, but I'm loving them. And I think I will. So I picked blue and off-white and light gray. And so, let's see. The pattern that I'm doing is different than the one you're doing, I think. And
yeah, I did Bacalou or Bacaloo.
Yeah, mine is the Fogo Island 9 patch.
Okay.
That is just different. And let's see. Oh, and that trademark gusset line you can see in mine. But Saltwater, I would say this is for my color work skills. This would be like a tougher project because it's color work's just so new to me, and it's 3 colors, and there's lots of moving around. But it's wonderful because it's so sticky yarn. The stitches don't go anywhere if you drop them or do something funny with it. So I'm enjoying this.
Is your intention to do fingerless mitts, or are we going to do the mitten?
I'm going to do the mitten. Yeah.
And I forgot to bring mine, but I did do a wet block since we podcasted last time, and that really tightened it up. So even though I thought it was a tad big, I am not going to increase my needle size when I do the next pair. And then I got a little impatient with the drying because we've had some cool weather here. So I did throw them in the dryer for about 10 minutes with whatever load of laundry was in there. And that, I think that probably helped tighten them up as well, but no felting occurred. So yeah, that's good.
Mm.
All right. What's off your needles, ladies?
Oh, stitches that I put on about 10 minutes ago. But they're back on now.
You are a brave soul to do wingspan while we're podcasting.
Brave, or I lack reasoning skills and intelligence. I don't know which. So what about you, Miss Brianna? What's off your needles?
Absolutely nothing. I've started a lot of things, but I haven't finished anything.
What about you, Frivolous?
Well, Penny has kind of thrown the gauntlet for how many projects we're going to finish while we're at the retreat. So next week may be just a totally finished projects episode.
Based on how we define finished.
Yeah, exactly. Finished. Okay, so I only have one finished object. Watch your eyes because it's neon. Look at this.
What?
Fringe. Look at the fringe.
Look at you.
This is the beginning brioche scarf by Lavagna Patricella. Oh, is that not just the funnest fringe ever? I need to let the fringe hang and then trim it. But okay, you talk about go on and go on and go on. I ended at 104 inches and it could have blocked another 20 inches. But I just did a steam block with it because I wasn't thinking, and I attached the fringe. So I didn't want to do a wet block with the fringe because then I was afraid that this would actually start to look like pigtails or something. So I used Rowan Big Wool, and it took me 2 skeins of each to do it on a US 15. I do teach this class too. So 2 color flat. I see I have a little end to trim there. See that? Yeah, so the pattern calls for super bulky. They used Malabrigo Rasta in the pattern, but I used Rowan since that is the yarn that will be available at the yarn shop. I think it's a statement piece, and when the tassels get kind of cruddy, what the heck, just pull them off, right? Or the fringe. And so you won't get lost wearing this. So if you want to take a walk and not have to wear a reflective vest, this may work. So I would call the yarn, boy, it's going to go 4, I bet, on the Frugalometer because it is Rowan, and the pattern, it's a paid for pattern. I'm going to give that a 2, probably $. I would love to, for some of my classes, find free patterns so that when people are learning a new skill, I can try to encourage them to do it without having to put a lot of money into the pattern. So that is the only thing off my needles.
Well, that's a great segue for things that you ladies have already said. So tell us what you've been learning in your knitting this week, because you've already mentioned a couple things. Miss Brianna, do you want to kick us off? What have you been learning?
Yeah. Yeah, one of the big things I've been learning is that arrow sweater, the changing of the colors and picking up stitches. That's something I'm continuing to learn because for the neckline and all the cuffs, you have to pick up stitches to do this this nice thick brim.
Oh, collar?
Collar.
Yep. And I did it a couple times because like I do it and then I take it back out. I do it, take it back out. Because in some spots it looks really nice, like really smooth. In other spots, just not as much, like right there.
Oh, darling, if that's what you're being uncomfortable with, you're way ahead of the curveball. I got to tell you, darling, that's nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, that looks nice.
Yeah, because I feel like with projects, it's probably the little things that make a project look finished or put together or polished.
And I would agree. I would
Yeah.
agree with that, wouldn't you, Dawn?
I would
It is
agree.
those
Yep.
finishing touches. But for someone as new into knitting as you and garment knitting, that's your first real garment. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no, you knit the sweater.
The
We knit
sweater.
the sweater together and the Audrey sweater, but didn't have a collar.
Nope. Yeah, so that's probably one of the big things I'm learning, and how to count to 10 when I'm knitting with mohair. Yeah, and you know what? I feel like, I don't know, I'm in a phase where I just get excited about something and I cast it on, and I'm like, I don't have time to knit the things I already have on my needles, so I don't know what I'm doing with that, but that's where I'm at, I think.
Welcome to my world.
Oh my goodness. A slippery slope.
It is a very slippery slope. But you know what? I think if it ends up being like what I do, I go in fits and spurts, so to speak. So I'll cast a bunch on and then I'll finish most of those. And then I may go to a group where I cast on again quite a few. Just keep track of your whips. And when you think they're getting out of control, either give them away, frog them, or yeah, finish them. And that really is the whole kind of goal that Penny and I had when we did the finish, fix, flip, or frog it cal, is those numbers can creep on us without us thinking. And so every once in a while, just look back and make sure you still like what you're working on.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah. I have to report back what I'm learning this week from Melanie Berg's Zoom. Okay, first of all, I behaved myself.
Very good. We're impressed.
I didn't fangirl out loud. I did it internally. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm just sitting here knitting with my friend Melanie. So she said a couple of things. The class was on shawls, and it was the first question I thought was probably one of the most interesting things is she put a survey up on the screen about, do you swatch for your shawls? And the choices were always, never, or only if it's a new yarn. I think 90% of the people said they never swatch. One person said they always did, and we're pretty sure they clicked the wrong button. And and then like a few percent said if it's a new yarn. And I knew what she was going to say, right? All the things I never want to hear in knitting is you must do a swatch. She goes, well, I don't swatch either for gauge. I was surprised by that. She swatches for color sequence. So she showed 3 swatches. They didn't look very big, maybe 4 inches square. And it was the same pattern in all 3 swatches. It was some stripe work and then basic lace. And she used the colors in different order. And it was amazing how when you did that, you knew which colors worked and which colors didn't. Unbelievable. So I kind of think back to my Slipstravaganza with Stephen West, where he had you do the lazy swatch just to see if your colors played well next to each other. So that was really inspiring to me. Now, she said really in a shawl gauge, stitch gauge and row gauge isn't as important if you're happy with the fabric that you're creating, and know that if you go bigger needles, you're going to need more yarn. So just some common sense things there. So that was the first thing I learned. The second was if you're using 3 or more colors and you're working on picking out those colors, make sure one of those colors is a neutral.
Oh.
And that's good for me because I tend to go bright and bold. And so making sure that always at least one color is a neutral. And I'm assuming by that it helps balance the eye. And lastly, and this is why I was thinking Quicksilver, Penny, she talked about shawl shapes. And so, right now the popular shape, and I believe yours is one of them. Is yours asymmetrical?
It is.
Yep. And she said that is a very popular design right now. And she picked her Quicksilver to show the use of short rows, which is what's creating those orange colored wedges for you. So
Mhm.
she said it's an easy pattern to design. It's very graphic. It's hard to wear. So most people, when there's an asymmetric, will have to find the focal point and then place that focal point where you want it to show on your body, and then tuck things in.
That's how
So,
I do it, to be honest with you, because that's where the weight of the fabric is.
oh yeah,
So I need to know if I have enough fabric to hold it in place.
very good. I'll talk about that too. So a lot of asymmetrics on the longest edge will have a very eye-catching border. Not so much Quicksilver, but that is the beauty, she said, of creating asymmetrics. And she talked about, an asymmetric shawl is where you're increasing on one edge at a faster rate than you're increasing on the other edge, hence the asymmetry. If you think of your typical triangle shaped shawl, even if it's elongated, those increases happen along the center spine. Now, my favorite is a crescent, which really is an elongated half circle or half pie. Those increases just occur on the top border. The more elongated you want it, the more you increase at a quicker rate. So I never thought about it. If I saw a pattern that I liked that was a triangle, now that I know that, I should be able to make it a crescent just by taking the increases away from the center spine and putting them along that top border. So I don't know if I want to figure that out mathematically, but that was very good. And then the last thing, which I thought was brilliant, and I'd never thought of it. Somebody asked her, why are her shawls so long? And she said, the length of your shawls should be your height and a half. So an example would be is if you're 6 foot tall, half of that is 3 foot. So your shawl should be 9 feet long. Now she did it in metric for her height. I didn't understand it because, I'm 2 meters 24 or something like that. I don't know what that means. So I did it for my height and it's amazing. It's 104 inches. That's how I love my shawls. And she said, if you get them long enough, they'll stay in place when you wear them. If your shawls are constantly shifting, one of the things to think about is, did you knit the shawl long enough? Now, obviously, knit them whatever length you want, but then you may need to use things like shawl cuffs or pins, not as an embellishment, but as a way to keep your shawl in place. And then she said the most underrated shawl shape ever is the long rectangle, like Festival of Stitches. She said it is by far the most versatile shawl to wear. And so she encouraged people to do more of those. And she said the reason she thinks people don't knit them is their very first knitting class, they probably had to knit a very long garter scarf. And they got bored with it, so they just don't like or care for that shape. And of course, I was turning red during that time because the classes I'm teaching right now are all long rectangle scarves. So yeah, it was wonderful to see her. There was about 50 people on the Zoom, and it was by a knit shop, Amazing Threads, which I believe is located in the Twin Cities. So yeah, I was just in hog heaven, referral back to our Iowa days, to have been in that Zoom with her. So that was a very long way of saying what I learned this week.
But it was a rich jewel for us to chew on.
Yeah.
Lots of different points. Very good. Well, my lesson this week is, I think, pretty poignant to my monogamous knitting. And that is, monogamous knitting is like a monogamous marriage. Okay. They have several things in common. Number one, they both require intention. You have to intentionally work on it, even when you don't feel like it. Even when you'd rather pick up another project, you
She's looking at
intentionally
us.
choose. Yep, you intentionally choose to remain focused on the most important project, and that's the one you're married to or you're working on. The second thing is they both require my attention. If I am not knitting on it, it's not getting done. If I'm not working on my marriage, it's not staying strong. The other is they both require commitment. Yeah, I can't dabble. We have terms for that, such as adultery, marriage. And I'm wondering if we can have fiber adultery if you're a monogamous knitter and you're messing around with other fibers that aren't in your current project. And then finally, they both require diligence. And I am learning the benefit. So there's definitely a cherry on the top of this icing, and that is I don't have to relearn the pattern, like you mentioned with Tenacity. The pattern, the stitches are familiar. I can quickly see my errors, just like in my marriage. I can quickly see when I have not given it the attention that I need. And I'm speaking of my husband. If I don't attend to him and I'm not working on our relationship, I can quickly spot it. It doesn't take me 6 months when I find the project bag underneath my recliner, right? So I am finding some sweet, sweet silver linings in monogamous knitting. That's it.
And I think our viewers are absolutely amazed by even the discussion about being monogamous. And even in my Zoom knits with some of my other things that I'm doing, that seems to be a conversation, is monogamy in knitting. So yeah, very good.
And I would definitely say only in knitting for right now. Not everyone is suited in their personality for working on one project from start to finish. I get that. So I'm absolutely not casting any tall shadows or judgment, but I do see both the positives and the negatives of it and what it's requiring of me. So I'm sure at the end of this year, my skills are going to look more like character attributes than they are like Miss Brianna's, learning how to pick up stitches, learning how to perhaps hold yarn for her color work or tension. I have a hunch that this is going to teach me how to be diligent, how to be attentive, how to be content with what I'm working on and enjoy it rather than seeing it as drudgery. So I'm just guessing. It's a prediction. You can call me on it at the end of the year, but that's what I'm thinking.
Very good. So what is new at Frivolous and Frugal?
Oh, well, fasten your seatbelts because I'll tell you what, we have just been pleasantly busy. As you know, we are still putting out a goal of reaching 2,000 subscribers or not. Right? Or not. But if we do, we will have a giveaway. And we're not there yet. Our next YouTube giveaway is going to be during episode 58. We will pose a question during that podcast. We'll ask you to respond to it. And then we use a random generator to select the winner of that. So that will be during episode 58. And as a reminder, we will not have a weekly podcast next week. We are refreshing ourselves, refilling ourselves, going to a retreat put on by Magpie's Cottage in Sheboygan Falls, Wisconsin. The three of us are going to be there, and we have opted not to record that week. So it'll be the following week or the very first weekend in May, episode 58 will air. Our next giveaway for Finish Fix Flip or Frogget Cow is going to be in episode 60. Again, we choose randomly using a device. It's actually an app that Dawn uses. And so we'll give that giveaway at that time. We are going to try perhaps to do giveaways each month for our hat cow. So we just did that in our previous episode because our April hat cow was the Hermes hat, and I have more to tell you about in just a moment. And we also had a giveaway already for our ornament cow in Ravelry. So we'll do that again in May, sometime around the second or third week of May. Our Saltwater Newfoundland Mittens knit along. We already announced one giveaway, but our dear friend Miss Jen has offered 2 prizes. So randomly we selected, and it looks like Miss Cindy Amanitz is our winner. So Miss Cindy, please contact Dawn, and Dawn will put you in touch with Miss Jen. And when it comes to this portion of the episode where we always have honorable mentions, Miss Jen, thank you so much for being so gracious, for offering patterns, for offering coaching, for offering instruction, sharing your wonderful love for your country and your island. We sincerely appreciate that. So thank you. We also have another honorable mention. For those of you who joined us for our April virtual knit night, we were so tickled to have Miss Corey Eichelberger from iRock Knits be our special guest. And Miss Corey, I hope you know how much we appreciate you on so many levels for how you've reached out to Frivolous and Frugal and how you've been willing to be an encouragement to those in the fiber community. She definitely even answered our questions that were posed by our viewers. So thank you, Miss Corey. She also has a coupon code for us that is good until the end of April. That will be included in our show notes. So make sure if you are interested in purchasing one of Miss Corey's patterns, you use the Frivolous and Frugal coupon code that's in the show notes. Also, we have one more honorable mention, and that is Miss Pink Shawl Girl, and Miss Irene from Irene Designs for providing Dawn and I with a free pattern of Sweet Little Nothing, because I believe during our virtual knit night, someone may have suggested a knit along. So we are going to be doing a knit along with Sweet Little Nothing, and Miss Pink, well, her real name's Susan, but Miss Pink has offered to coach us if we need coaching. It's a great project for a single skein of fingering weight yarn that you really enjoy, but you just don't know how to use it. It is finally available for sale on Ravelry. Please, if you're interested, buy that pattern. We're going to cast on in May, and we're going to do that together. And we will be providing some giveaways for that as well. So ladies, you have no idea how much you just bless us and fill our cups because you're so gracious and willing to share. And a special shout out for all those who joined us for this month's virtual knit night. I can't tell you how inspiring that time is together. Wouldn't you ladies agree?
Absolutely.
And we appreciate you sharing your projects, your ideas, your suggestions, and the tidbits that you have learned. So if you've never joined us, you're in luck because we're doing it again in May. So we have a virtual knit night scheduled for May 8th. We post the details and the link to that event on Ravelry about 1 hour before we actually start the event, just in case there are any questions or technical difficulties. That first hour is a bit informal, but we want to remind those of you who have never heard of our events before that we try to make it nothing but talk about knitting. We like to share what we're learning, new fibers that we're trying, new techniques, new resources, local yarn shops. So if you love those fiber arts as much as we do, please join us. It will be packed with knitting information, and we always try to post show notes after the virtual events. All of us take notes, and we try to capture every pattern, fiber, technique, book, whatever's mentioned. We try to capture those and put hyperlinks not only in our show notes, but Dawn monitors our chat. And she will, in real time, put links in the chat so that if you want to grab it and mark it as a favorite in Ravelry or mark the website, you can do that. We'll invite you to share your projects, whatever is on your needles or off your needles, at your own comfort level of participation. We always preface the evening with that. And then we usually have an additional question to ask. But not in May. We have another surprise. So we're going to tell you ahead of time what our surprise is for May. we are tickled to have Miss Beatrice Rubio, the designer of our Hermes hat knit along, join us all the way from Chile. So she will be with us at the very beginning of the evening. So if you know that you can't stay for the entire event, please sign on right away at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. And Miss Beatrice is going to start our program that night. And she has agreed not only to share about her designing journey and her knitting journey, but do you know what? She has designed 50 patterns.
Wow.
So here's what I would suggest. I would get on Ravelry and I would look through her patterns, because if any of them are intriguing to you, or you'd like to know the story behind it, or perhaps you're getting ready to knit it, but you're not sure if you have the skills that it requires, that would be a great evening to chat with her about it. Okay. So we will, as always, start promptly at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. And Miss Beatrice, we can't thank you enough for being willing to join us. As I mentioned, we are not going to podcast on the weekend of April 24th, which also means, I'm sorry, for those of you who enjoy our virtual knit-togethers in the morning, we will not have that April 24th. And I have to yell standby when we're talking about our morning knit together for May. We just realized during, by the way, faithful Miss Nikki pointed this out, that we might have a family conflict on Saturday, May the 22nd, because someone we know is going to be graduating from college and we're going to have a family get together. So put that on standby. Dawn and I are going to look at our calendars and see if we can fit it in our schedule any other Saturday in May. We apologize that I know some of you are so in the routine of every fourth Saturday morning. We apologize for that, but actually, you will know this by now. Family is important to us. And so we can't pass up the opportunity to celebrate Miss Brianna's graduation and her little brother's high school graduation. So it'll be fun. Now, those are our big events that we can mention specifically. Let me just tell you that SurveyMonkey is still up for our Chicago mini meetup. We are really appreciating the feedback we're getting from you. Thank you so much. Those of you who have emailed us know that you've emailed us, and we really do chat about your comments and suggestions during our Knitting with the Aunties. So right now we're trying to negotiate and navigate some of your considerations and ideas. We hope to come and arrive to a conclusion by the end of April, we're thinking, because we have to reserve not only the hotel, but the meeting room that's associated with it. So hang in there. We thought we might be able to answer it this week, but we just want to make sure we've got it confirmed. We are still planning for July 30th and 31st, and we will be in the Hoffman Estates area outside of central Chicago. All right. If you're considering April's knit-alongs, just let me know. It is the Granger toque for our hat knit-along. If that's something of interest for you, we'll have a different pattern featured for May. And our April ornament knit-along, we are including a pattern for Christmas ornament balls, as well as novelty shapes. So here is the pattern for the ball for the month of April. It is Deck the Balls with Aran. So you are using Aran weight fiber, and that is by Kelly Jensen. And our novelty shape for ornaments is Christmas Stockings by Amanda Berry. We will again announce new patterns in May. I think I covered all of our events. Ladies, did I miss anything?
You make it sound like we're busy.
I do. I kind of do. But beyond busy, I know that our viewers are waiting with bated breath to know what our dear faithful Nikki would have to say. And it's the best way to conclude our episode. So here is what Nikki would encourage us with this episode. Observing someone doing something they love is priceless. And I think Dawn would agree with me as we watch our dear sweet Miss Niece, or Miss Niece, our niece, Miss Brianna, knit. It is priceless. It
Absolutely.
is priceless to watch her learn, to try new things, to be adventurous. And not only that, to be teachable, to ask questions. Just a delight, Miss Brianna. So I hope you know that when Aunt Nikki said it's priceless, we would agree. So thank you once again for joining us, darling, and bringing a whole new dimension to Frivolous and Frugal. And until we meet again for episode 58, it's our hope that your week will be a sweet twist of the Frivolous and Frugal. Have a great week, and we hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.